everyone, I'm Chifei Fan. Some of you may have seen my home country of Taiwan in the news recently.
Well, China has deployed naval ships near Taiwan's coast after the meeting between U.S. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy and President Tsai Ing-wen.
Taiwan says 28 Chinese warplanes, including fighter jets and nuclear...
World War III tensions.
Chinese fighter jets and warships have simulated strikes on Taiwan.
Taiwan-Strait.
Take Taiwan back.
So what are we supposed to do? Start living in an underground bunker? Or maybe I should switch my Asus to a Huawei? Seriously though, I've heard so many foreign reporters kept telling me how dangerous Taiwan is, but I'm the one who's actually living here. I was the one who couldn't sleep because the PLA sent rockets flying over my head after Nancy Pelosi visited Taiwan. That's why I think it's crucial for you to hear what we, the Taiwanese people, have to say about all of this. This video is a deep dive into the Chinese threat from the perspective of the Taiwanese. Let's start with a certain date that keeps resurfacing when people talk about the Chinese attack on Taiwan.
The general consensus is that it could well be 2027.
We know from the CIA annual threat assessment that it says Chairman Xi has told the People's Liberation Army to be ready, completely ready for an invasion of Taiwan by 2027.
Why do you guys keep saying 2027? How did you even come up with this date? Did you ask ChatGPT? Because I did. And
as an AI language model, I don't have access to real-time information or the ability to predict future events.
Not helpful, Mr. GPT. Go back to your server.
Aww.
I decided to do some digging on the 2027 deadline, and this is what I found. The year 2027 was first brought up by the CCP's annual strategy meeting in 2020, the fifth plenary session of the 19th National Congress. At this Congress, the CCP stated 3 military goals they wanted to accomplish by the year 2027. First, upgrade their military in 3 key areas: machinery, communications, and AI. Second, create 3 operational aircraft carrier battle groups to keep pace with the United States in the Pacific. And third, establish long-range air and sea missile capabilities. So, what does all this mean? Basically, they want to make sure their soldiers have armored vehicles, state-of-the-art communications equipment, and the help of AI to better pull off an invasion of Taiwan. They want enough aircraft carriers to encircle Taiwan and fend off any ships from the US, and they want to be able to fire missiles into the seas surrounding Taiwan. To be like, don't come near us, we can hit you. All of this by 2027. In 2021, Commander Davidson of the U.S. Indo-Pacific Command testified at the U.S. Senate hearings that China will obtain the combat capability to invade Taiwan in 6 years.
Taiwan is clearly one of their ambitions before that, and I think the threat is manifest during this decade, in fact, in the next 6 years.
Ever since then, 2027 has become known as the Davidson window. But this testimony took place 2 years ago, and a lot has happened since, like Russia invading Ukraine, for instance. So maybe he changed his mind. Well, we called Admiral Davidson to see what he thinks now, and this is what he told me.
Well, I haven't seen anything that would cause me to change my analysis from back then. And again, I go back to the Director of National Intelligence's comments here last summer. She's concerned about this date and the next several years as well.
So, okay, he sticks to what he said. The deadline is still 2027. Wait, what year is it now?
2023.
Oh shit, 2027 is only 3.5 years away. It's not even enough time to put a kid through college. Is it time to hit the panic button? Okay, hold on. Before pulling the kid out of college, in June of 2021, U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin and Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Mark Milley, also testified to Congress about the 2027 window. But this time, Milley emphasized that the deadline was about combat capability rather than combat will. The U.S. military brass came to this conclusion based on public statements made by Chinese President Xi Jinping and emphasized that there is no actual intention or evidence that they will invade Taiwan, but intentions can change quickly. So what that means is whether China will invade Taiwan by 2027 depends on two factors: intention and capability. How do we measure China's intention to invade? Here, I talked to Taiwan's former Chief of Defense, Li Ximing, to see what he thinks. 总长，如果中国真的要打台湾的时候，这个决定到底会是怎么下的？
理论上啊，从中国共产党的这个权力的跟重大事情的决定机构，它是一个集体领导的机制嘛，所以应该是由中央政治局嘛。但是现在中央政治局7个常委里面，除了习近平，其他都是完全遵从习近平的领导嘛，以执行他的意志为第一优先嘛。所以我们可以这样讲，最后如果中国真正决定要做这种战争的重大决定，其实就是习近平来决定了。
So tracing the winding path of China's intention actually leads to just one man. Maybe we should just hear what he has to say.
解决台湾问题是中国人自己的事，要由中国人来决定。我们坚持以最大诚意、尽最大努力，争取和平统一的前景，但绝不承诺放弃使用武力。
Right. So in other words, so obviously, trying to guess the intent of one man in control of the communist regime, in control of 1 billion plus people, can be a bit like looking into a crystal ball. So maybe we can get a clearer picture of the situation with our second factor, capability. According to experts, there are currently at least 4 major challenges that China must address before they can successfully invade Taiwan. Taiwan is a volcanic island covered mostly with high mountains and thick jungle. The flatter parts of the island are paved over and densely populated. Obstructions like houses, ditches, and telephone poles would make it extremely difficult to land large numbers of paratroopers or helicopters. That's why the general consensus is that China's best option is to invade by sea. According to a Reuters report, the PLA currently has a capacity to transport up to 40,000 soldiers across the Taiwan Strait by sea. If these 40,000 troops survive the sea passage to Taiwan, they will face another round of missile strikes when they land. If they survive that, they must win a ground war against Taiwan's army of 150,000 soldiers plus millions of reservists. So China faces massive challenges just in maintaining an invasion force large enough to survive the trip to Taiwan to fight a war on the ground. Most of Taiwan's coastline is rocky and jagged. Only a handful of beaches on the island are suitable for landing an invading army. The most obvious of these beaches has long been designated key defense zones by Taiwan's military, and smaller beaches are obstructed by thousands of massive cement tetrapods. What's more, weather conditions in Taiwan Strait are often harsh and unpredictable. With typhoons in the summer and monsoons in the winter, only April and September offer predictable weather. Any other time of year, and Mother Nature might join in on the fight too. Performing an amphibious landing on hostile territory is an extremely complicated ordeal. Lots of moving parts. You have to bring the soldiers over, give them weapons and supplies, coordinate all the different departments, make sure everyone is trained, and establish guidelines and protocols ahead of time. It is an enormous endeavor, and you only get one chance to get it right. In modern warfare, the only country to successfully conduct large-scale amphibious landings is the United States during World War II and the Korean War. So does the PLA have the capacity to pull off such an operation with zero experience? Assuming the PLA survive the trip to Taiwan, they will need constant supplies of food, ammunition, fuel, and medical items. These supplies must be delivered by transport ship, going back and forth across the Taiwan Strait. These slow and bulky ships are easy targets, especially considering they have to be painstakingly unloaded at our ports once they got here. With each transport ship we destroy, the PLA loses a critical lifeline and their chances of success diminish accordingly.
你要侵占一个2300万人的岛屿，要从海上、空中上来征服它，你想想看是多复杂。它整个牵涉到它的联合作战的指挥、管制、通信等等等等，配置多么的复杂。
看我们台湾能够登陆的地方，就是这么一点点呐、他要送上部队来，你全部挤在那个地方，就是打靶一样嘛。我一颗飞弹就把你打掉了，这是一个自杀式的行为嘛。所以，其实北京解放军也了解，很不确定的。
So even the PLA knows how hard invading Taiwan will be, so I guess that means they are not going to do it. Yes! Taiwan is safe and I don't have to make any more videos, right? Wrong. Just because China faces challenges doesn't mean they can succeed. Otherwise, why are we even talking about this? Why is there a Davidson window? In actuality, most experts have said that the correct answer on China's capability of invading Taiwan is that it would be difficult, but not impossible. All right, so what do we make of all this? If China's intention to invade is resounding nothing we want, and its invasion capability is hard to pull off, what does that mean for all of us? Well, it all comes down to one calculus that might be familiar to many of you, cost-benefit analysis. As of the making of this video, China has not invaded Taiwan yet, because either the benefits are too low or the costs are too high. But if someday, say by 2027, the scales tip the other way and the benefits start piling up or the costs fall within an acceptable range, then they will pull the trigger. So, the future of Taiwan depends on a cost-benefit analysis. That's pretty scary, especially since everything could change quickly. What if a politician says the wrong thing? Or there's a natural disaster or another global pandemic? Our goal is to avoid a war. So what can Taiwan do? Reducing the benefits to China of invading Taiwan is difficult because it's something that can only be measured internally by the CCP after weighing all factors, including economics and politics. Frankly, it's a bit out of our control. However, increasing the costs of invasion is something that Taiwan can do. If Taiwan can ensure that, the PLA would suffer heavy losses when attacking Taiwan to the point where China's economy is unable to function, and the CCP might ultimately lose control of China, then they will never invade. This means strengthening Taiwan's military and perhaps more importantly, making sure the general public has a will and stomach for a successful defense of the island. And on that last question, the foreign press here has found some less than promising sentiments.
Most of the local Taiwanese people, they grew up living with China's threat, so life goes on even during the unprecedented drills.
Taiwanese have faced the threat of China for decades, and so these threats are not taken quite seriously.
军演哦，没有什么看法，
不会担心，因为一直以来都这样，
已经被恐吓久了。
但是不会打了，只是恐吓意味比较浓厚了。
要打早就打了，不用担心啊。
Okay, so it's true, some of us still don't take the threat seriously. But let me tell you, more and more people are taking it seriously. According to a recent poll, more than 42% of Taiwanese interviewed feel that China could invade by 2027. This is compared to a similar poll from 2 years ago, where only 28% recognize the risk. In the last few years, there has also been a strong push from both government and civilian organizations to be more prepared for war. For instance, President Tsai Ing-wen increased mandatory military service from 4 months to 1 year for men over 18. Foreign Minister Joseph Wu has gone on the record to say, "This is our fight, and Taiwan will fight." On the civilian front, there are more and more organizations dedicated to educating the public on preparing for war and emergency first aid. In making this video series, the number one question I got in the comments was, what can I do to help? Actually, I asked my viewers to tell me what would they do in the event of war, and this is what they told me. From a used car salesman, if a war breaks out, I will use my car dealership as an emergency base to help fix flat tires, fill up fluids and oil, and provide gas to vehicles. From a manufacturing worker, we can repurpose our factory to make bullets. Also, I'd be willing to fight on the front lines if they needed me. From an engineer in the tech industry, I've been taking first aid courses. I'm not sure it will be useful, but it's a first step. As for me, I've already figured out what I'm going to do. I will be a window to the foreign media. I will post everything I see on the ground to Facebook or YouTube for the world to see. That's why I'm making English content right now, so I can be ready. Transitioning from a peacetime to a wartime mentality is not an easy thing, but we are doing it. As you can see from this video, we really don't have a choice. Getting ready for war is the best way to ensure war doesn't happen. That's it for today. Tell us what you think. If you like this video, please share it on your social media. To be honest, making this video has relieved some of my anxiety about the situation. The Taiwan-China relationship is complicated and constantly changing, so it's important we keep wrapping our heads around it. Also, some of you might be wondering if we've overlooked a part of the equation, a certain global superpower that could be a deciding factor in the outcome. Obviously, the US is important, but will US come to our aid, and how? These are complicated questions that deserve a video of their own. So stay tuned as we bring more in-depth analysis to the Taiwan-China situation, the US position, China's abilities, Taiwan's defenses, and more. 2027 is coming. Let's be informed and vigilant. This video is in collaboration with Taiwanplus.